Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another episode of Looks and Crooks. So for today's case, I'm actually here to finish off my look from last week. I'm going to be trying out using this brush. My friend told me that I should try using a brush to apply, but this is the only kind of brush I have, so I'm sorry, child. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm going to be doing a video today on a white woman that was actually murdered in Kenya. And now the way I've said it sounds like I'm trying to be rude or I'm trying to be mean or I'm trying to do something, but no. I just want to make it clear that this lady is not a Kenyan. She is a British woman that traveled to Kenya, and things perspired that were never supposed to perspire, and that is why we are here today on this segment of Looks and Crooks. Now, without further ado, let us discuss the lady herself and why we are here today. Now, Miss Julie Ward was actually born in the UK. Now, because she was born in the UK, and this place does take place before the internet was in high use, not much is really out there about her childhood and what she used to do as a child, or exactly even where she was really born. But we do know that she was born in Britain. And more is known about her life after she did grow up and she started working for a photography company as a is it lifestyle? When you take pictures of wildlife. Yeah, wildlife photographer. In the early 2000s and late 1900s, this was actually a very big thing in terms of career. People used to wildlife photography was everybody's dream. Really, a lot of people wanted to be wildlife photographers. Miss Julie Ward was one. She would travel around, she would take pictures, and most of the time she wasn't, in any danger because she was always with someone who could protect her. She always had tour guides, she was always with people. However, when she came to Kenya, I don't know why she thought this was gonna be any different, and I'm obviously not blaming the victim, but things digress, and she ended up going for her trip alone. Now, let me give you some background as to what happened when she arrived in Kenya. In September of 1988, Miss Julie Ward did arrive in Nairobi, Kenya. She was actually supposed to be going to the game reserve of Masai Mara to be able to take a few pictures of the wildlife at Masai Mara. If you don't know, Masai Mara is literally a world-renowned spot for seeing wildlife and really getting into the African experience. And I think this is why a lot of people think that Africans just ride on horses etc, because when we obviously portray Africa to the world, we do it in terms of a tourism light, and the tourism largely revolves around people coming and seeing the wildlife and seeing the animals. So I can understand why people think we ride on animals and whatever. It's still ignorant, but what can I say? What can I do? Anyway, as she arrived in Kenya, she quickly got off to start making her way to Masai Mara. She got a guide her Australian friend named Mr. Dr. Glenn Burns. Her and Glenn Burns were actually to drive to Masai Mara, but as they started driving, something happened to their Jeep, and Glenn decided to go back home, as she decided to, continue with the journey and, go to Masai Mara because she had to be back home to Britain within a week. So she really wanted to get some content in before she had to go back. Glenn said, okay, I'll see you there tomorrow when I'm able to get, when I'm able to find a way to make it there, I'll be on my merry way. And she made her way to a hotel where she was going to go and get some camping equipment for her ability for her to be able to, set up camp and, just wait and lie in the sand for the right picture. I'll never understand some careers, but good for you all. Personally, I'm not gonna sleep in the sand and risk getting bitten by snakes, etc., so I can get a good picture of a deer. It won't be me, but you know what? Good for you guys. There's a reason why everybody has something that is their calling. As me, I will sit here and paint my face and look like a clown the entire day, but you will never, ever push me to go and lie in the forest so that I can take a picture. Why would I do that? Let's get out now. Anyway, Julie Ward made her way to the hotel. She finally managed to get her equipment. Now, as she got her camping equipment and made her way to Masai Mara, where she planned to camp, the last time she actually would be seen alive, because in the days coming after this, no one, not her friend, not her family not her friend who she left behind, not her family back home, no one heard a goddamn thing from her. Everybody was just like, wow, I didn't know they didn't have network in Africa. everyone was just expecting a call from her, and she never called. Now the thing is, she was in Africa, and a lot of the Western people think that we don't have any kind of phones or anything in Africa. So a lot of the people back home did assume that, what, she's gonna call us when she's able to call us. Maybe it's the fact that they don't have electricity or anything back there in Africa, which is the assumption by many people. That's not lie. However, a few days did pass, and the thing now became that it was alarming, because she was supposed to catch her flight, like I said, back to England in a week, and days had passed and she hadn't said anything, and her flight date was quickly approaching, and no one had heard anything from her. She hadn't confirmed if she's coming, if she's not. And by this time that they're getting concerned, she should have been able to confirm whether or not she's coming, because she needed to get to Nairobi. She needed to do all of that. She needed to get her packing done, etc., etc., etc. But no one had heard from her. And the thing is, she was very close to her dad. So the fact that her dad hadn't heard anything from her in like days, he now really started getting into a panic. He really went into a frenzy, and he decided to call the people back at the hotel that she was supposed to be staying at, i.e. the hotel where she went and got her camping equipment so she can go and camp and take pictures of, the wildlife. He calls the hotel, and the hotel tells him the same thing that they knew, that this girl came, picked up her equipment, and nobody had seen her since. Naturally, her father now starts to get really, really afraid. He's really like, oh, Jesus. He starts to get now really, really afraid. He starts sounding all the alarms. He's now calling the people in Kenya, calling the local authorities in Kenya, asking them, can you please go out in there into the woods and look for my daughter? My daughter is missing. I don't know what's happened to her. I can't find her. She hasn't called me in a matter of days. Like, it's really scaring me. Now I just want to tell you guys something about Kenyan authorities. Kenyan authorities will not listen to you unless you are there. Unless you're physically there, the case never seems that deep. Like, they're always like, relax, like, calm down, man. And also the fact that she was a tourist, and many people never expect anything to happen to these tourist people, because it's like, damn, you never know who you're gonna touch, you never know who you're gonna offend, you never know who this person is back home, and you never know what's gonna happen. So a lot of people, even those that commit crimes, do stay away from trying to, get involved in like perpetrating crimes on these tourist people, because it's like, you really don't know who this person is. You don't know who you could be fucking with. So the police also didn't take alarm. Furthermore, she was a white woman, and I'm so sorry to say, many people in Kenya and many people in Africa tend to not fuck around with like white people like that. Like, if you're gonna fuck around and do something, many people they're less likely to do it to a white person, because they always like, even in the movies, you're always shown like, oh, if you touch a white person, it's like you've touched the entire country. And many Africans think like this. They're like, don't touch them, because it's just going to cause problems. And a lot of it is rooted from slavery, because a lot of people, still think of the white people and think of them like they're big, they're bad, don't fuck with them. Anyway, the police didn't worry. They were like, nothing could have possibly happened to her. Nobody could have possibly touched this woman. Like, the probability of someone touching this woman is low. Furthermore, she was supposed to be staying at a hotel. So they just assumed, you know what? This lady is somewhere at the hotel. Either she's with a man, she's met a man, and she's having her fun. And obviously her daddy doesn't know. But that's more probably what happened, as opposed to her actually being in trouble. So her dad, no matter all of his efforts, he soon came to realize that nothing is going to happen unless I make my way to that country. I have to go to Kenya. I have to try and make them understand that there's something wrong, and we really need to be looking for my daughter ASAP. Ace the fuck app. So her father, Mr. John Ward, gets on a plane as soon as he realizes that he needs to get to Kenya, and he needs to talk to these people face to face for them to realize what's going to, like, that this is a very serious case, because as far as he's concerned, nothing is gonna happen. And he gets on a plane, he gets to Kenya, and he still realizes that even in Kenya, nobody's going to help him. Because, like I said, nobody is thinking that this white lady is lost. Nobody thinks anything bad could have possibly happened to this white lady, because the society in Kenya, they're not, like, even the criminals, they're not really likely to be touching white people, guys. I don't know how to say it to you. I really don't know how I can use and say it and also not sound like a racist, but they're not likely to fuck around with white people. So he arrives in Kenya, he gets to the police station, he talks to them, he tells them, yeah, look, I need you guys to help me, and I need you guys to help me now. My daughter might be lost, something might have happened to her, and you guys are just here, and if anything happens to her, so help me God, I'm going to bring and rain hell on you. And like I said, a lot of the people in Kenya still, I don't know if it's from the slavery mindset or what happened, but a lot of them still think of white people and they're like, yeah, we don't want that kind of fucking problem, like that kind of drama. Yeah, we don't want it. So they just decided, the authorities decided, let's cooperate with him. Let's help him. When he finds his daughter in another man's arms, he'll be okay. He'll realize that the girl is doing what young girls do and she's having her fun, and he's just trying to waste her time, basically. So they look for him. So they look for her. And soon, and very soon, it became apparent that this lady was actually not just living her life somewhere and having fun somewhere. It became very apparent very quickly that this lady was lost. First, they went to her hotel, and the hotel that she was staying at said that they hadn't seen her since the day that she had actually collected her things for camping, i.e., she hadn't even returned her things that she was supposed to have been camping with from the hotel. Because obviously, if she's getting equipment from the hotel, she's supposed to come back, return the equipment, and then go back and go to wherever the hell else she was supposed to be going. But she hadn't done that. She was still at large with the hotel's equipment. As soon as the police realized she wasn't at the hotel and she hadn't been seen since then, is now when the police are like, wall up, fall up for the girl them. They said, right, something must really be wrong. Naturally, as soon as the police realized that Miss Mayam wasn't being found, they now try to really put in a lot of effort to find Miss Mayam. And in the beginning, it did seem like the police were cooperating with Mr. John Ward, but after some time, Mr. John realized that all of a sudden, the police just, as they're calling more and more of their people on ground, they're talking to more and more of their people on ground, all of a sudden, the police just reach a point and they just decide they're not going to be as cooperative with Mr. John Ward as they were. They were all friends with the same intentions in the beginning, but all of a sudden, the police decide, we're not gonna look for this babe again. We should just wait for her. And Mr. John Ward's like, what happened? Like, what has changed? But the police are just refusing to talk to him, refusing to cooperate with him. Same thing with the people at the restaurant, with the people at the hotel. Everybody doesn't want to talk to him all of a sudden. Before, everyone was helping, but not again. So Mr. John Ward takes matters into his own hands. He's like, okay, don't be suspicious. But that was suspicious. Everybody, me and everyone were in the same fucking group chat. They were going to find my daughter. All of a sudden, everybody's just doing sengemenge. People are doing anyhow. What he decides to do is he decides to now take money from his own bank account to try and find his daughter. Number one, he goes on search parties. He hires people to take on search parties. Number two, he also hires helicopters to go into the air and look for his daughter from the aerial perspective. Because the thing is, if he doesn't have the people at the reserve, the people who work at Masai Mara helping him, that means that he can't physically, like on foot, get onto Masai Mara so he can look for his daughter, which means that he has to, go by air. And going by air around Masai Mara is very expensive because it's, like I said, it's a tourist destination. So tourists usually do this because it's like a fun little getaway trip for them. And if it's like a fun adventure for tourists to do, you already know he's gonna be paying a hectic amount of money. So he pays for these air helicopter searches for like around a week, until finally the helicopter searches did find something. They saw something from the sky above that was smoking, which was very weird to see. It's quite weird to see something like that in a game reserve. And they decided to land the helicopter and go and have a look at what the hell that was. Get down, they go and have a look at what the hell this is, only to realize that it was the burnt remains of a human being that had been taken apart? I don't know how to say taken apart. I don't know how to say it. But it was the burnt remains of a person that had been taken apart. Quickly, they call Mr. John Ward. And as they call Mr. John Ward, as soon as they finished testing, they did confirm that the body they had found actually belonged to Miss Julie Ward, who is the daughter of Mr. John Ward. I will say this. There is some peace in knowing that somebody is gone, but there's also some torture in knowing how they went out. Like, imagine, like, you just find them gone, like, burnt and gone. Like, no explanation as to what happened. Not knowing, bruh, I feel like that's actually agony. I'm so sorry to him. I don't even know what I would do. I'd really be over it. I'd really be quite over it. As soon as they did realize that this was the body of Miss Julie Ward, Mr. John obviously lost it. Like, it's like you send your daughter somewhere believing that she'll be safe. Something has happened, and it also infuriated him. It's like the authorities took so long to respond, despite the fact that he had warned them that something could have happened to his daughter. And in his mind, it's like, maybe if they responded quickly, maybe if they listened to me, maybe if they trusted that I knew what the fuck I was saying, that my daughter wouldn't just disappear on me for days on end, maybe she could have been saved. Because it's like, you don't know when she died, and in your head, everybody didn't do enough. Like, she didn't have justice for what had happened. So immediately he realizes this is his daughter. He decides he wants to go out in public and make a public speech about this, tell everybody that, what these people did to my daughter was wrong. They should have been there. They should have listened. They should have paid more attention to what I had to say. Like, maybe she might still be alive. And this is when Mr. John really realized that maybe this issue is bigger than what he was seeing. Maybe this isn't just an issue of the authorities being negligent. Maybe this isn't that. Because as soon as he wanted to go out and talk to authorities, he was met with complete and utter red flags. Just red flags. They were red. They were flying everywhere. Everything was going very badly for him. He decided he wants to go to the Kenyan media. Usually, if you want to go to media is always very open to hear a very good gossip, juicy story. But when he went to the media, he realized that the media was kind of like cock blocking his ability to be able to tell his story. So as soon as he realized that there was a bigger cover-up going on, he decided he's going to not only take it farther than it needs to go, he was going to take it to Western media. Now, one thing about Western media is they love a juicy story. And Western media has freedom of speech, which is something that during the time Kenya didn't have. During this time that all of this happened, Mr. Daniel Arap Moi was the president of Kenya. And if you remember what I said about Mr. Daniel Arap Moi in this video here, Mr. Daniel Arap Moi was not somebody to be trifled with. He was a man that many people feared. Like I said, he was lashing people's fathers like babies. And he really didn't have any fucking regard for human beings. So just know, if you went online and if you went on air and you said some nasty things about him, you was gonna get the lashing. If you said something nasty about him, you was gonna get the lashing. And if you said something to damage the economy of Kenya or to damage Kenya's reputation to the international community, you was gonna get a lashing. So no media wanted to touch this, because a lot of them realized that if we print this story, yes, it's a good juicy ass story, but if we print this story, more than definitely, this is going to ruin Kenya's tourism industry. Why was it gonna ruin Kenya's tourism industry? Because number one, I want you to remember that this Miss Girl was white. This was a white woman that was killed in Kenya. Blonde, young, who was supposed to be staying at one of the most prestigious resorts in Kenya at the time, but she was still able to be murdered. And not only was she able to be murdered, the main story was that the police were not doing anything about the fact that she was killed. The police were being negligent. So not only did this paint Kenya as an unsafe country, it also painted Kenya as an uncouth, uncivilized environment where the authorities will not do anything to anybody, and crime is rampant because hold on. So naturally, no one wanted to print the story because they knew the government would come down and crack down on anybody who dared to touch this story within a 5-meter pole. Now, Mr. John obviously didn't realize this. His own is, I'm heartbroken. My daughter is gone. She's dead. And you guys are coming to do for me power politics. Like, ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way. So for him, he's just looking at the situation and he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure that these people regret anything that they did. Because to him, it's giving very much so it's a cover-up situation. That the government knows what the fuck happened to his daughter, but nobody wants to say anything. Like, it's very suspicious, obviously, to him from somebody who doesn't realize the ramifications this could have on the Kenyan tourism industry. And so he takes on this mantle of, I have to be the whistleblower. I have to blow the whistle. I have to go out there and tell people of the Western countries not to come here because these people are nothing but corrupt people and everybody's gotta know. Everybody gotta know. What really prompted him to actually make this decision finally and say, you know what, enough is enough and I'm gonna tell the entire world, is when he realized that the autopsy that the government had helped procure for his daughter's body was actually fabricated. It was fabricated. They fabricated the autopsy. They fucked around and they lied to him about what the cause of death for his daughter was. That she was mauled by animals and struck by lightning, and that's why she was burnt up. And he goes and tells the Western media about how his little girl was basically literally killed in this country and nobody cared. Everybody was acting like it was just such a normal thing, etc., etc. And this was kind of bad for the Kenyan media. I know Moi was killing. He was in his house angry. He was angry. He was in his house upset because he had no control over the situation, because he was a toxic man. He wanted to have control of all of this. But one thing about Western media is if they won't talk, child, they gon' talk, child. They will talk, talk. And you will do nothing more than a farted rat. Period. Case actually really did plague Kenyan tourism. And according to some of the articles I saw, because like I said, all of this wasn't really documented very well because it happened before the internet was a big thing. According to the documents that I read, 2 people were actually arrested for the death of Miss Julie Ward. However, they were acquitted of all of the charges because of a lack of evidence. There was some evidence that did prompt this actual trial take place, and it was because Miss Julie Ward's battery camera and some of her hair was found at a nearby security check, which means that if she didn't have which means that somebody must have taken the camera from her. It can't have been this bizarre story that they were trying to spin, that it really did speak to the fact that somebody was there. Somebody else must have taken the camera from her because she had her own camera. Why was her camera battery there? Not only was her camera battery there, but also chunks of her hair were found at the scene. So, and were acquitted. There was no charges. And like I said, obviously, if the Kenyan government is trying to make it seem like nothing happened here, everything is okay, naturally they're going to find these people innocent of all the kind of charges that they were going to be charged with. Now, the conspiracy that came out after this entire trial and all of these people being acquitted was actually a very funny tale. And let me tell you, I didn't get any of this information from the internet. Quick disclaimer, I did get this part of this story from members of, people that I interact with day to day, people that I know that are from back home and are from during that time. And a lot of them did say that what had happened was Julie Ward was actually a victim of something that was bigger than herself. It said that according to the locals, this is not 100% information. According to the locals, that Miss Julie Ward was actually just at the wrong place at the wrong time. What happened was that she went to take pictures, of the wildlife, and she was into wildlife and etc. You have to love wildlife to be a wildlife photographer. I mean, come on now. And when she was taking these pictures, poachers came and they wanted to kill animals to sell. Now, poaching is very illegal, but a lot of the people who are poachers that have been caught have really gone on to tell us that, it's a very inside job, that people who work in those places, even people in government, usually help them with all of this poaching and taking the animals, because it's a large business. Like, you cannot be a poacher at it just of your own volition. You need to have cars, you need to have access to the animals. So much goes into poaching that these people need to have people with access to these kind of things. And a lot of the people who have been caught poaching, like I said, have told us that a lot of the people in government are involved in poaching. So the story goes that Miss Julie Ward saw these poachers, walked up to them, told them to stop. She told them, if you don't stop, I'm gonna report you to the authorities. And they couldn't have that, could they? And so they killed her. And they left her. They killed her, dismembered her body, burned her, and left her out there for the wild animals. And yeah, that's all I have to tell you guys today. I am so tired. Like, I have literally stood up from here when I went to finish my face. I had so much to do. And then I've come back here and I've had to film. And I'm really feeling like my backbone is gonna snap. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for coming to my channel today. I really thank you for hanging out with me from my eyes to my face. And I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to record, the hair and the finishing off of the entire look on camera. But there is always a next time. I'm still not 100% myself from Corona. And I hope I'll see you guys in my next one. I'm gonna go and take a rest because I'm feeling a bit dizzy. Bye, guys. I love you so much.